Okay, magic makers. I am going to talk about something that I know I struggled with, and I know that maybe some of you are struggling with right now, or maybe you've struggled with in the past. It is called procrastination. And, procrastination shows up in all areas of our life, with work, school projects, life, weight loss. It is a thing. And I know that I am, the queen of, procrastination. And the thing of it is that like for many people, they're like, oh, Kim, you're so organized, right? Procrastination does happen to even the most well organized person at some point or another, and, many of us, think, most people think that people procrastinate because, they're disorganized, they're lazy, they don't care. But really, what is happening is it's just something going on in our brains is that our um our brains are wired that way, or that person who's a procrastinator, their brains are wired that way. We like everyone likes that relaxation feeling, that like feeling of like, a job well done. Well, the closer that a person gets to a due date, all of a sudden panic starts to set in, especially when you have that due date. And so you can't relax as much. So you power through, your prefrontal cortex gets engaged. And then once you complete the assignment, your lymphatic nervous system feels less pain. And it's like, relief. We got this job done. We're good. We're all set. Everything is good. The other thing is that some of us, we feel a rush when we get to the end of a project, and then that release that we get from our nervous system, it's a nice reward that our body is saying, you know what, we got that nice little hit of dopamine and it feels really good. So we had the expectation of getting a reward every time an assignment is completed. And that rush only happens when we wait until the last minute. So this gives you a reason to wait as long as you can, because you want to get back in to that rush, that victory, that coming in and saving the day at the end of that. And I totally get that. I'm that girl, I can sprint to the finish line. Now, the reason why it's a challenge when it comes to sprinting to the finish line is that you see the finish line as the end point. And for many people, that end point can get really cause you to just get very fearful, cause you to change what the end goal looks like, cause you to fear that nothing is good enough. So it's a slow, uh, another sign of perfectionism, right? Because we want to make something perfect, but then I'm going to procrastinate the shit out of it because I'm nervous that it's not going to be good enough. I'm going to procrastinate because I want to find to be perfect. I want to find the right plan, quote unquote, to move forward. So how do you, really kind of look at your procrastination, and how do you overcome the challenges so that you can tackle them? And I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are going to really, I want you to sit back and think to yourself, like, am I a procrastinator? I know I am, right? And it's like, I also want to ask you, what are the things you find yourself procrastinating on, right? And why? For me, I know that sometimes if I judge a task as hard, and I need to like read through the instruction manual and do some steps, I am like, oh, girl. And I will like literally set that binder somewhere and I won't look at it. Or if someone tells me you need to get this done by a certain time, and if I really want to, I do it. If I really don't want to, I don't, or something I'm just not excited about. And for many of you, one of the things that I see a lot, especially when it comes to fitness, if I'm not excited about the process to lose the weight, if I'm not excited about the workout, then guess what? You're not going to do it. And one of the inspirations for having this podcast today was that I have a conversation with a client, and she was talking about how she's like, oh, I really need to find the time to look at the plan. Okay. Well, when are you going to find that time? Like, what is it that in her brain that is causing her to procrastinate on it? Did she look at the plan and it felt too hard? And she just doesn't want to say, hey, this is too hard for me right now. Does she look at the plan and feel like, oh, I can't be perfect at this, right? What was the breakdown in her mind before taking the action? And one of the tips that I share with you always, and I always share with everyone, is that like, how do you break things down into manageable segments, right? Because like it's really easy to look a laundry list of these are the steps that I have to do to lose weight, right? You can be like, focusing in on macros, focusing on water, the workouts, the sleep, stress management, and like just hearing that probably sends some of you into that whoa, whoa, whoa mode. But if I said, okay, we're going to list it all out and I want you to rank what feels easiest to hardest, right? And then we can tackle the easiest thing first so that, again, one of these tips is like, how do I start to get some wins underneath my belt? Because if I'm constantly feeling like I'm being knocked on my ass, I can't catch a break. How motivated am I to keep going? Not very. So here's where we say, like, what can be that small victory, and celebrate every single achievement, because many of you listening are that type A++ person, and you're like, if I can't do this entire thing on my to-do list, then I suck. Like, we've gotten so caught up in this whole hustle culture, hustle and grind. And what if you could hustle easy? you know I'm a recovering hustler, and so one of the biggest tips that I had gotten when I was coming out of the thick of hustle culture was I only put three things on my to-do list, right? I don't know about you, but I would have this to-do list that would be like this long and double-sided, and I would say I got to do all these things in order to like feel accomplished or feel like I am worthy of moving on to the next thing. Well, who says? I said, like, I set the pace, right? And so the other thing that I've heard that I hope that it sticks with you as well as it sticks with me is pick a pace and make peace with it, right? And so I use this analogy a lot. So imagine you're on a highway. There is the fast lane, right? Everyone there, they're going as fast as they possibly can. You have the middle lane, right? You're just like middle of the road. From time to time, if you feel like you need to speed up, you get over into the left lane. You feel like you need to slow down, you get over into the right lane. Then you have that slow lane. And it's literally like, hey, I'm doing me. I'm working at a pace, driving at a pace that I know is sustainable for me, and that's okay, right? So it's like we have to decide where you are. And as as I talk about that list of the things that it takes to achieve said goal, you can be in a different lane for every section. A lot of the women who come to me, they crush workouts. Like that's just what they do, right? They're in that far left lane, and they're just like they're going 80 miles an hour, throwing protein shakes out of the window. Because they're just like, that's just who I am. I know this. I got this. But sometimes for food, they got to be in that right lane, because then we got to like relearn some things, break down some stereotypes that we've been listening, some myths we've been listening to, maybe increase some of the foods that we've been eating, and really kind of like dial back where we're trying to go. And so, again, if I like go back and I say, okay, here are the things that I'm trying to accomplish, and I go with the easiest, that's helping me to break those tasks into manageable segments, right? But it's also helping me to then set realistic goals. The biggest challenge I see when it comes to weight loss, getting fit, is the goal piece. So many people will think, I just started dieting on Monday, and by Friday, I should be down 400 pounds. Really? Come on. Let's break up with that. What if instead of saying how much pounds did we say on scale, what did your adherence look like? How did your energy feel like? Because if you started a diet on Monday and you gave up all the things you love and you were white knuckling your way through the week, how long before you kick that diet to the curb? Or what if you were able to say, my realistic goal is that, when I try to focus on all the food parts and try to get it right, I suck. But if I just say, you know what, I'm going to focus in on my protein, or I'm going to focus in on my vegetables, or my good fats, or, making sure that if I am someone who has treats, could I scale that treat back to less than one? So if I have, let's say, 5 treats a day, could I have 4 treats, right? So that we are creating these like realistic goals, but we're also breaking it down so that it's not this like, cold turkey thing. And, I've been doing this over 15 years. I don't know many people who could go cold turkey. Like cold turkey only works for a handful of people. And I I rather you find success. So if it means, and I've shared this with you, I had a client that used to eat those little like Lindt chocolate squares every single day. And so she started out like just literally like mainlining them. And I said, okay, eat them, but I want you to count to know how many are you eating, right? Because like if you don't know, you don't know. So, let's just say, I can't remember how many she started with. So let's just say she was eating 20 a day. So then I said, okay, great. We're eating 20 a day. Tomorrow, I want you to eat 19. Right. So now it was like, okay, great. I never said no. I said, instead of doing 20, can you do 19? Right. And then when, 19 felt good, can we do 18? And it was this slow drip back to finding that number that felt like, okay, I think she ended up somewhere between like 5 and 10, but it was like, it was, almost half of what she was doing before. So it wasn't taking things away, but can we scale that back? Right. So that we can we were working to set something that was realistic when it comes to workouts. Right. I rejigged my membership about 2 years ago. And I asked the ladies and I said, realistically, right, how many workouts are you doing in a week? Most of them were doing anywhere from 3 to 5 workouts a week. And I said, great. So I'm like, I'm no longer going to give you 5 workouts, because when I give you 5 workouts, it made them feel like a loser, that they were like, oh God, I didn't get it. I didn't get it done this week, but they got in 3 and they weren't celebrating that. So I said, you know what, here's the thing. I'm going to give you 3 workouts. And that way you have that small win, you have that accomplishment. But then if you're someone who like has the extra time, this is how you go back through to get in that 4th or that 5th workout in a week. Right. So it's like instead of breaking up with that negative breaking up with that negative self-talk. So we get to challenge our thoughts to say, like, oh, I can't do this. I can't work out. I can't work out this week because I can only do 2 days a week, or I can only do 3 days a week. Something is better than nothing, or we snowball into, I'm not good enough. I'm going to have to start again on Monday, or, I'm going to wait until after the holidays, wait until after summer, wait until after vacation, wait. And then, another thing that, always, thoughts that pop up into me is that tomorrow never comes, right? You are responsible for what gets scheduled tomorrow. And, another way to be procrastination is what gets scheduled gets done. So many women will say, oh my gosh, I just ran out of time. Did you run out of time, or did you plan your time? Right. And I'm not asking you to be like anal retentive about it. I'm saying, okay, look at, there's 2 ways to plan, and that I recommend. 24 hours. So, you look at like, okay, it's Monday. What does Tuesday look like? Or, I like to sit down at the beginning of the week and I'm like, okay, what does my week look like? What's going on? Right. Because, let's be honest, most of us in our 40s, we don't have these last minute spontaneous things. And if they do, it's like not like gonna like blow up your day. It's pretty, it's not real, it's not likely to blow up your day. So here's where, I would look at my calendar and be like, okay, all right, so on Tuesday I have a 10 a.m. and then I have I have a 3:30 to 6:30 block for clients. Okay, so can I work up before the 10 a.m. or can I work out after the 10 o'clock, right? So it's like looking at my schedule and being like, okay, when can I fit in that workout? If I tell myself, I'm going to work out 3 days a week, where do those workouts happen? And then the second part is that when it comes to food, really kind of like looking at your food and creating this menu. And again, some people are like, I like to be spontaneous, right? I get you. I feel you. I got you. However, I'm going to ask that when you are being looking at your menu, it's kind of like make some of your meals automatic, right? So for me, my breakfast and my lunch are pretty automatic. I and so when I say automatic, the meal parts don't change by much. So what am I saying, Kim? Say what you're saying. So what I'm saying is I will my breakfast. Typically my breakfast is I will have a shake and I will throw in a good fat. I'll throw in a vegetable and a fruit. That's my shake. My lunch, big ass salad. It's chicken or shrimp or salmon, some type of protein. And then it's, two kinds of lettuce, some carrots or some cauliflower. It's some beets, some feta, some lettuce. That's how I put it all together, right? So it's like those two are pretty automatic. So when I'm writing things down, it's pretty automatic. And then for my last one, if you are a member of my Fit Girl Magic Society, every single month you get at least 20-ish recipes, right? So there's that. And they're very simple because I'm a simple person. I don't like there's nothing in there that's going to ask you to get eye of newt, right? It's going to be stuff that 9 times out of 10, you already have it in your pantry, or it's something that you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what that is. Oh, yeah, I'm out of that. And it's something that you would buy and you would use regularly if you're someone who's cooking in your house. But, I go through, I hop on Pinterest. Like I just make things really simple, really easy. I will never ask you to be Martha Stewart. And I will never ask you to be like in the kitchen for hours and hours and hours and hours. Um, and one of the major reasons why you procrastinate is fear of failure. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, many of you are perfectionists, recovering perfectionists here, right? Raise my hand. I am recovering perfectionist. And so I fear failure. You become so anxious that you're not going to do it right, or you're not going to get the A+. So it's rather than think that you're going to fail, you'd rather not even try. Like it seems like too much of a challenge. You've already put, we've already talked about the expectations that we put on ourselves. And that's typically why so many people fail, is that you expect that you can leap a tall building in a single bound. Like, girl, get the fucking cape off. That's not who you are. And that's okay. Right. So it's like, again, break down that task. That's going to really be a game changer. And if you need help and support in that, holla at your girl. I'm very happy to help you with that, because if I face my fears gradually and I start to, it'll be a little easier to step outside of my comfort zone. Like, that's why they say the comfort zone. I had another client, like she was ridiculous about her food. Like I used to beg her to have something fun in her diet. Like it was ridiculous what she ate. However, she wanted to build muscle, but she wasn't eating enough. And for many of you listening, food fear is a thing. Food fear could really be what takes you out of the game. And it was, again, we had to break it down to manual tasks. I'm like, where can we start to add a little bit more food into your diet, right? Where do you feel comfortable adding more food into your diet? And so, she was also a reader. So I was like, here's some research. And we started with adding more protein to her diet. And she was comfortable adding a shake after she worked out. And it was a good 6 to 9 month process of slowly being like, okay, what's your comfort level this week? Where's your comfort level? And really being empathetic and compassionate that, some of our fears, are rational. Some of our fears are irrational, and we all have them. And sometimes we don't even know we have them until they're, someone triggers them. Someone just like raises that motion detector on that fear. And you're just like, holy shit, like you don't realize how much of a hold that fear has on you. So it's like, gradually increasing the difficulty so that you become more confident in your abilities is paramount when it comes to, procrastinating around weight loss. Also the support, like she knew, like, um, she absolutely knew that she's like, I couldn't do this alone. And so she's like, even if, we frustrated the crap out of each other in the beginning, she knew that it was something she had to do. But it was like me as a coach being compassionate, that knowing that she wasn't doing this on purpose. She wasn't being difficult. It was just, it was a scary monster for her to eat more food, especially if you've been an undereater for so long. It's really a challenge to do something different or think differently. We don't realize how many subconscious things we do. Like, this is how I eat, so it's like boom, 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 this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing, it's this time of day, this is what happens. And so many of us don't realize that. And so it's like seeking that support that can help you through the struggles, so that you receive the encouragement to help you stay on track and help you build that confidence around that change. And also education. I have this podcast not because I like to talk to myself in my office. I have it because I want to make sure you're getting the straight information. Like, nowadays, there's so much bullshit out there. I just want to make sure you're getting the information so that you understand how to truly lose the weight, keep it off. How to like personal development. How do you just improve yourself? And then any area that you need to help boost the confidence you need so that you can make informed decisions. That's what this podcast is all about. We talk about a variety of different things, but I'm always like, I just want to make sure that you're being educated so that you can seek out further resources. Excuse me. We could start a further conversation, but I always want you to know, here's the true skinny, because things can be skewed, oh gosh, so many different ways. And I want you to like start to, when we're in this procrastination mode, we talked about our brain, right? So our brain is always trying to protect us. Our brain wants certainty, right? That's like one of our core feelings that our body wants, is that it's like it wants certainty and it's safety. So here's where your brain doesn't know the difference between what has actually happened and what you are wanting to happen. So let me break it down. Visualization. Many of you have heard this visualization before. And so see yourself overcoming these challenges. See yourself where you want to be. So if I am trying to be a certain size, I'm going to see myself standing in my mirror and like in awe of me being a size, whatever it is. I'm in a size 8, I'm in a size 10, I'm in a size 5, whatever it is. You being like, ooh, look at me, I'm in this size, and you're looking fabulous. Maybe it's you walking down the beach in a bathing suit without anything strategically covering up your body. Maybe it is, being able to deadlift a certain amount of weight. Maybe it is you being able to go to a holiday party and not have someone hold your legs as you make your way through the buffet line. So start to see, like, what is it that you want for success. And studies have shown, and they do this a lot with elite athletes. And so they have elite athletes. And the one study that I think is fascinating. So hurdles, right? So, hurdles, it's like there's only X number of steps you take, and then you jump over, and your back foot can't touch, and your front foot has to clear. And they have hurdlers just over and over and over again visualize, like, I'm making this up, but it's like 5-step jump, 5-step jump. And just in their mind, like, so that when they get to the race, there's no other thoughts in their mind. They're like, take 5 steps, jump, take 5 steps, jump, take 5 steps, jump. And that's like their like almost like mantra as they're going through, so that they just like, this is like, it's go time. This is exactly what's happening. And I know how to do it because I've seen it in my mind. And so your brain's like, I don't know if this is true or false, but we've been seeing it. We've been visually seeing it. And that's how I'm going to do it. Like, visualization can have such a positive impact on your mindset to help you reduce your fear. And, as I talked about this, most people think, oh my gosh, I'm a loser if I can't get this on the first try. Look at it as a learning opportunity. It's like, how did you fail? Like, what was it? And so many people, don't want to acknowledge, I failed because I tried to do too much. That is not a failure. That is like, I try to, like, think about Do you ever have like stuff in your hand and you go to the grocery store? This is the example. You go to the grocery store and you're only going in for say like one or two things. So you don't even get a basket. You're like, oh, I'm only going in for one or two things. I don't need a basket. Next thing you know, you're picking up, what you went in for. You were picking up some milk and you're picking up some yogurt. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, you know what? I need some chicken broth. Oh, I need a can of tomatoes. Oh, I need a loaf of bread. Oh, I need, a bag of apples, right? So it's like all of a sudden you're adding, and then you're kind of walking around like trying to balance all that. Now, if you dropped one thing, would you be like, oh my God, I'm a loser, and be so embarrassed and you run from the store? You'd be like, well, I knew this was going to come. So note to self, the next time it comes to the grocery store, grab a damn basket, regardless of how little of my thought process is of how many groceries I'm going to pick up. Right. So think about it. It's like a learning opportunity. So like if I didn't do that, I would never learn. Just kind of think about your children when they're learning to walk and they wibble and wobble all over the place. Do you tell like, little Johnny, you suck, so don't even try? And next thing you know, you're carrying around an 18-year-old because they never learned to walk? No, you are like, okay, you're good. You're good. Let's go. Let's get back up and try it again. Reward yourself, throw out some milestones to yourself so that you have those mini deadlines. Remember, we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, we have those like mini dopamine hits. Like throw out those mini dopamine hits. Like right now I'm trying to finish course, and there are people who are out there who the course is 20 weeks long, right? And there are people out here who are literally binge, and they will be like, oh, I did 10 in a day, and I just don't have that one. But my ADD would just like, it would just be like binging off like a ping pong machine to try to do that. I'm like, okay, I could do an hour at a clip. Like, how much stuff can I get done in an hour? And then I can move on and I can break it up, an hour a week. So hopefully I'm not sprinting to the finish line. But I want you to think about like, and those are like my little rewards. And so like the reward is, you know, um sitting here and watching a Hallmark movie, right? That could be your reward. It could be just, listening to a podcast. It could be something that brings you joy is your reward. So that reinforces your behavior and keeps you motivated. It could be that, I know some of you like to check boxes, right? So it could be like you're checking the boxes as you are getting this done. So think to yourself, like, what is it that can like be this little reward for me so that I can start to really focus in on what I want. And instead of being like, oh gosh, I just have to make the time to create a plan. Oh gosh, I need to do this. Oh gosh, just start to be like, what are the little things I can start to do so I can gradually face these fears, start to celebrate these small wins, stop all this negative, self-talk that I have going on in my mind. And then finally, like, where is your motivation? I know that for me, like, what's your why, right? You guys have all heard me say like your why is that motivation. Your why is what is going to keep you going when shit gets hard, and shit is always going to get hard. It always is going to get hard. There's always going to be a time issue. There's always going to be a motivation issue. Just ask yourself, what's your why? For me, my why is I want to walk my talk, right? If you ask me things like, yeah, I've tried that, and I can tell you why it worked for me and why it worked for me and why it might work for you, or why it didn't work for me and why it might work for you. But I'm always going to be, always keep it real with you and honest with you, but figure out what are those things that motivate you. A lot of times, I'm big into motivational quotes. Like my whole office is scattered with um, motivational quotes. Like right now I'm looking at a quote from Tony Robbins that says, the only person who is truly holding you back is you. No more excuses. It's time to change. It's time to live life at a new level. Right. So I read that and I'm like, yeah, girl, you know what? I'm sitting here and I am not am I playing full out? Am I working towards that new level? And I have another quote from one of my old coaches is like, don't wish for something you're not willing to work for. And I see people all the time like, oh gosh, I just wish I could do this. and still doing the same shit. Right. So this right here is, how do you break up with that procrastination? And if like I've triggered you, I apologize, but I don't apologize, because that tells me that you're not living at that new level. You want that new level, but what are you willing to do to get to that new level? And if you want to have a conversation, let us talk, because guess what? Like, change, it takes time. Change takes time, and it's okay if there's setbacks, right? You have to be patient with yourself so you can stay committed to the goal. Or take a look at the goal and say, are you trying to climb Everest and you've never gone on a hike? You know, or you think about, okay, I need to find like whatever the little baby hill, I don't hike, but whatever the baby hill is around you, and start to build up from there, and start to, that's where you get support of like, okay, I want to climb Everest. What are the steps to get me there? I want to manage my menopausal weight gain. Like, what are the steps that are going to get me there? Because I'll tell you, rinsing and repeating some old shit that you did 5 or 6 or 10 years ago ain't going to cut it. Your body is so hip to it. You're having this hormonal like superstorm that's happening, and you really need to work on something different, because this is what I know: consistent effort and a positive attitude will lead to the results that you desire. So if you're done procrastinating, do me a favor, hit me up in the socials and say, I am done procrastinating. I really want to hear that, because trust me, I'm a procrastinator. I know how hard it is to just not, be you and just be like, I'll do it tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow never comes, because you'll always say tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. All right, Magic Maker, have a fabulous day. And if there's ever anything you want to talk about, let me know. I am always up to make sure that I am giving you the best information possible. Enjoy your day.